Hello guys, what's going on with NEO stock? What you should be watching for moving forward. I'm gonna talk about where NEO may be going over the next couple of trading days, what the data is suggesting for NEO, and what's going on with the overall markets that could affect NEO as well. Before breaking things up about what's going on with NEO SPY, testing just a couple of tickers out there, I have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, let's get on with the video. NEO is down 2.32% for the day as of right now, getting a bearish cross on the PPO in the 4-hour time frame. As NEO has been selling off, we're starting to see weakening momentum, and it's getting close to the 50 EMA right now. However, I just want to note that the market is starting to show some signs of weakness today. As the market got that rejection off that's some very important resistance before it started to slow down, and that was after the bank earnings came out. Now the bank earnings were quite decent, right? They actually showed signs of the banks doing quite well, from like JP Morgan to Chase to Wells Fargo and etc. And these banks held up quite nicely. However, the thing is, they didn't hold up forever, because you'd have to remember that the market is not just going to solely move based off of them. It's also because there's a Friday sell-off. The algorithms came in and took over. And also Apple was not looking super strong today. Apple was kind of lagging a bit. That made things a little bit harder for the whole market, at least for some time. So seeing a sell-off near the end of the day is completely normal. But now let's talk about NEO. How was NEO affected by all this data? So the earnings came out pretty decent. The market pumped in the morning, but the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report wasn't that great. Consumer sentiment is high, higher than expected, but the inflationary expectations actually went up, and it's part of why the market saw not the best of reactions now. This wasn't super significant, but it's worth noting, and the consumer expectations are still quite positive. But the 5-year inflationary expectations also went up because people believe there's going to be another increase in inflation coming again. Now, could this be completely correct? Does that guarantee it's going to happen? Not necessarily, but this does affect the sentiments of investors and how consumers are spending right now. Now let's add on to this, there is some news that came out for NEO that is actually still quite good. Now, I didn't see too much big news that came up besides this right here, but William Lee Benn did talk about something which is kind of contentious, and it has to do with the way Tesla was basically welcomed to China very quickly. But NEO has not been welcomed to the US very quickly either. There's more like regulations for it. But you have to consider the fact that those were different times when Tesla entered China compared to NEO entering the USA. And it would greatly benefit NEO. They do enter the US. I still hope that happens. I really want the best for them. But we have to be open-minded to how on earth different countries could let politics get in the way. This is not what William Lee Benn wanted. He did not want to see that happen. But the best thing we could do is just remain calm, cool, and collected, and not really let that get the best of us. Now the good news I was about to talk about. The EAT7 has won a Plus X award with only the top 5% of evaluated product nominated. That's once again pretty good news for them. Is going to be recognized for its innovation, high quality, and design categories. So the EAT7 won another award, looking very, very good, high quality, and etc. Don't forget, we saw Morgan Stanley come out and say that NEO is going to get a lot more deliveries going into this month. They're very bullish on NEO for that reason. So in a couple of weeks we have deliveries coming out, and when they have really good products like this and the EAS6 coming out, that's going to be very awesome for them as well. So things are still looking good for them from a fundamental standpoint. What is good news about NEO is the volume is not super high. We're not getting aggressive selling like we saw before when NEO was just selling off with 70 million in volume. Volume is only 35 million as of right now, and we're very close to market close, so very low volume. And so far NEO is just selling off a bit. Now the short volume did go up to about 63%. There's a little bit more shorting going on despite the higher price per ratio. Morgan Stanley is still saying NEO is gonna outperform the market, which is good. And we tend to slow down a bit on Mondays, but we tend to do better on Tuesdays, just like many other EVs. And last but not least, I just want to add that the short interest did go up just a little bit for NEO. So we are seeing a little bit more shorting during times like this. So it's all important to note. Now let's talk about the share prices of these. Now for NIO, I just want to add on that on the 4-hour time frame. NIO is selling off a bit and quite dramatically. We got this nice rejection off a bearish divergence that formed on the 4-hour time frame. Now after forming this divergence and getting this downside pressure being added to the share price, I just want to add that we have this imbalance right here. We have this imbalance way down here around this 9.9 level. I think NIO is going to come all the way down to 9.9, and if it breaks below that, we could see it come down to about 9.5 before it tries to balance. But you could see it quite clearly even on the stochastic. The stochastic is suggesting it might try to bounce a little first and then come down. So it could be either or. This doesn't guarantee anything. Just like this level, it was like super low at these levels before it continued dropping. So this is very, very mixed signals. I think NIO may try to gap up on Monday, maybe try to balance but then continue lower. But we have this imbalance to be watching for. We could see NIO continuing to drop into the 9s, and this is once again going to be worth noting. So make sure you are prepared for this. Alright, this is selling off a little bit. We are starting to look a little weak on the 4-hour time frame finally. This is the first time in a very long time. It's been many days since we saw this happen. And then it is starting to sell off a bit. Testing 449 is support that fails us. We have the next major support on 448.5. We're very close to that area. I'm gonna be watching. Could it try to hold this area? Is it gonna break down lower? Because if it loses 448.5, it's gonna likely come all the way down to 447.5. I don't see that happening today, but we are showing some signs of weakness that are worth noting. Alright, so just watch this carefully. I think the market is just gonna kind of range trade around these lower levels and close very flat. That's what I'm kind of aiming towards. We're very close to close, but it's not really that bad. We're only down like 0.1%. Not that bad after all. Apple is a little bit down as well. It's kind of flat. It's not really doing anything too significant. If Apple was booming to the upside, this could have helped the market hold up a lot better. But it's not really doing that. It's in this very choppy stage where it's just going back and forth. That's because of slowing demand in China. That's what's affecting the market right now. And then for Tesla, it's currently kind of like dropping a bit, but it's holding up quite nice, trying to hold above or very close to 280. I think it's going to try to hold up around this level for the majority of the day. The triple key, it's dropping down, but it wants to bounce, and it could try to push up later. It's still very, very flat, only down like 0.19%, which is nothing, right? This thing managed to break above this resistance. It came very close to our target, this resistance right here, and this 382 level before it broke right back down. And now we're seeing it at 378 as the next support zone. So we're watching the 50 as our support. It's gonna likely hold around these levels until close, and this is what the market is looking like right now. With that said, I went over NIO. It is looking a little bit more bearish for the short term. But don't forget, we have some big catalysts like deliveries coming out over the next couple of weeks. And also we're going to find out what the news says about other earnings, which will affect the markets in turn, which will affect NIO as well. Alright, so I just want to keep this one short since it is the weekend. It's coming up, and I just want the best for everyone. Thanks for watching our video on NIO stock. If you enjoyed this content and want to stay updated on the latest investment opportunities, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Remember, investing involves risks, so do your own research before making any financial decisions. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and happy investing.